Fleet Commander Darrow stood at the main viewport of the Celestial Confederation's flagship, the luminous Horizon. His four eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the blue-green planet growing larger on the screen. Earth, a world that had captured the Confederation's interest for decades. Fascinating that such a primitive species produces such complex art and music, said Ambassador Jiu, joining him at the viewport. Her silver skin reflected the soft blue light of the command center. Primitive is perhaps unfair, Darrow replied, though his tone suggested he didn't entirely believe his own words. They've achieved nuclear fission, primitive space travel, and global communications. Yet they lack even basic shield technology or fusion power, Jiu countered. The Council believes they'll be grateful for our protection. Their solar system has abundant resources that would benefit the Confederation. Science Officer Taman approached with a data tablet, his steps quick and precise. Final scans confirm our initial assessments. Their orbital defenses are minimal, a few hundred satellites, mostly for communications and observation. No energy weapons detected. Darrow nodded. He had commanded integration missions for 16 worlds, but Earth presented unique circumstances. Their broadcasts suggest they're highly territorial and prone to conflict among themselves. We must approach with appropriate caution. They've been fighting with projectile weapons and chemical explosives, said military advisor Chono, joining the conversation. Their most advanced fighter jets can't even reach low orbit without auxiliary boosters. His dismissive tone made clear what he thought of such technology. The command center hummed with activity as the ship decelerated into Earth orbit. Junior officers monitored communication channels, studied defense systems, and mapped population centers. The Confederation's approach had been deliberately obvious. They wanted humans to see them coming. Sir, we're detecting increased communications activity and military mobilization on the surface, reported communications specialist Mina. Multiple nations are scrambling aircraft and activating defense systems. As expected, Darrow said calmly, prepare the translator modules and open broadcast channels on their major frequencies. Ambassador Jiu, you may begin your greeting. Jiu stepped forward as the communications array activated. She spoke with practiced diplomacy. People of Earth, we come in peace as representatives of the Celestial Confederation, an alliance of 27 spacefaring civilizations. We wish to establish diplomatic relations with your world and welcome you into our community of planets. The bridge crew watched the monitors displaying Earth's major cities. People were stopping in streets, gathering around screens, pointing at the sky where the Confederation's ships now hung visible to the naked eye. Their military forces are maintaining position, but have weapons activated, Juno noted. Primitive nuclear-tipped missiles are being prepared in silos. Nothing that could penetrate our shields, of course. Within hours, Earth's United Nations Security Council had arranged for initial contact. The Confederation would send a diplomatic shuttle to a neutral location, a military base in Switzerland that had been hastily prepared for the historic meeting. As the diplomatic team prepared to depart, Darrow pulled Jiu aside. Remember, these humans don't understand their place yet. They'll need time to accept Confederation guidance. Jiu nodded. The integration specialists have studied their psychology extensively. They respond well to perceived benefits and fear of missing opportunities. We'll emphasize technological exchange while downplaying resource requirements. The diplomatic shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, a sleek vessel that made no sound as it moved. Inside, the team made final preparations. Their atmosphere has higher oxygen content than we're accustomed to, Taman reminded everyone. Your breathing may feel unusual for the first few hours. When the shuttle landed, Earth's representatives were waiting, a carefully selected group of political leaders, scientists, and military officials from various nations. Their faces showed a mixture of awe, apprehension, and curiosity. Ambassador Jiu was first to exit the shuttle, followed by her team. The humans seemed surprised by the aliens' near-humanoid appearance, having perhaps expected more exotic forms. "Welcome to Earth," said a distinguished human female who introduced herself as Secretary General Hana. This is truly a historic moment for humanity. The initial meeting proceeded cordially. The Confederation team explained their vast alliance of worlds, their advanced technology, and their interest in bringing Earth into their protective embrace. They carefully avoided mentioning their assessments of Earth's military capabilities or their plans for resource extraction. What the Confederation team didn't notice was the subtle communication happening between the human representatives. While the alien visitors saw a somewhat technologically backward species, they missed the sophisticated coordination occurring through nearly invisible earpieces and hidden signals. As the first day of meetings concluded, military advisor Chunho sent a private message to Fleet Commander Duro. "These humans are surprisingly organized for a species that still fights among themselves. Their questions are probing our capabilities more than learning about our culture." Duro dismissed the concern. All species attempt to assess potential threats. Their curiosity is natural and harmless. Their most advanced weapons couldn't even scratch our hull plating. That evening, while the Confederation representatives returned to their orbiting ships, Earth's leaders gathered in a secure underground facility. "Their technology is certainly advanced," noted Defense Minister Jun, "but they're overconfident. They've revealed more than they realize." Secretary General Hana nodded. "They think we're defenseless because we don't have their type of weapons. That assumption might prove useful." "The operation plan remains in effect," said Admiral Seojin. "Continue appearing receptive and somewhat awestruck. Meanwhile, all special units remain on standby." Back on the luminous horizon, Darrow reviewed the day's interactions with satisfaction. "Earth's integration will proceed smoothly," he told his command staff. "Their leaders recognize the benefits of Confederation membership. Soon they'll accept our guidance and protection." None of them noticed the small, stealth observation drones that Earth's military had attached to the diplomatic shuttle's hull. Devices using technology the Confederation had incorrectly assumed was beyond human capability. 3 days into the diplomatic talks, the Confederation team had established a temporary base near the meeting location. Military advisor Chunho walked alongside Science Officer Taemin through the human city, taking careful notes on his data tablet. "Their infrastructure is inefficient," Chunho remarked. "Look at these roadways. Ground vehicles burning fossil fuels, moving in predictable patterns. No defensive considerations in their urban planning." Taemin nodded, but something bothered him. "Yet their technological growth rate is remarkable. From basic flight to rudimentary space travel in less than a century." As they continued their assessment walk, they passed what appeared to be an ordinary office building. Neither alien noticed the sophisticated sensors tracking their movement or the fact that their supposedly private conversation was being recorded and analyzed in real time. Inside that building, Captain Suman of Earth's Joint Intelligence Division watched the aliens on monitors. "They're conducting exactly the pattern analysis we predicted," she told her team. "Keep the decoys active in sectors 3 and 4. Across the city, Ambassador Jiu sat with Secretary General Hana in a garden outside the conference center. The human leader smiled pleasantly as she poured tea for her guest. "Your civilization has achieved so much," Hana said. "We're eager to learn from the Confederation." Jiu nodded, pleased with the humans' apparent deference. "The integration process will be gradual. First, we'll establish outposts to help manage your world's resources more efficiently. Our technology will improve your lives immensely." "And what would the Confederation expect in return?" Hana asked, her voice casual but her eyes sharp. "Merely your participation in our alliance. Some resources, of course. Your planet is rich in minerals that benefit our shared interests, and perhaps some cultural exchange." What Jiu didn't notice was how carefully Hana controlled her expressions, or how her seemingly innocent questions were designed to extract specific information. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., Defense Secretary Kim sat in a secure underground room with military leaders from 27 nations. Displays showed the positions of all Confederation vessels in Earth orbit. Their ships rely entirely on energy shields rather than physical armor. Kim explained, pointing to detailed scans. Their weapons are impressive, but follow predictable targeting patterns. General Juhyun nodded. They believe we can't detect their surveillance drones. We've been feeding them exactly what we want them to see. What about their ground forces? Asked a military leader from another country. Minimal, replied Admiral Seojin. Their civilization has relied on technology for so long that they've forgotten basic tactical principles. They position their forces in perfectly logical formations, which makes them perfectly predictable. Back at the Confederation base, Fleet Commander Darrow reviewed reports from survey teams that had been permitted to explore various regions of Earth. These humans organize their military forces strangely, he commented to his staff. Their bases are scattered rather than centralized. Their command structure seems inefficient, perhaps a result of their divided planetary government, suggested an aide. Darrow nodded. Their natural resources are even more abundant than our initial scans indicated. This world will make a valuable addition to the Confederation. What Darrow didn't know was that humans had carefully planned which bases to show the aliens. The most advanced military installations remained hidden, their existence carefully scrubbed from all accessible data. That evening, Science Officer Taman made a troubling discovery. He rushed to Darrow's quarters with an urgent report. Commander, I've been analyzing human historical records. Their warfare evolution is unusual. They've developed incredibly effective kinetic weapons rather than energy-based technology. Darrow looked up from his meal. Primitive projectile weapons are no match for our shields. Yes, but Taman hesitated. They've developed remarkable adaptability. Their entire military history shows an unusual pattern. When faced with superior technology, they don't try to match it. They find ways to circumvent it. You're overthinking this, Darrow said dismissively. Their military capability is at least 2 centuries behind the Confederation standard. The following morning, Ambassador Jiu and her team attended a cultural exchange event where humans demonstrated various technologies they claimed represented their best capabilities. The Confederation representatives watched politely, occasionally exchanging knowing glances at the primitive demonstrations. Their space vehicles still use chemical propulsion. Junho whispered to Jiu. They can barely reach their own moon. What they didn't realize was that the demonstration was carefully choreographed. In a hidden facility thousands of kilometers away, human engineers were already examining samples of alien materials they'd collected from the Confederation's shuttle exhaust particles. The molecular structure is fascinating, said Chief Engineer Minji, studying a holographic display. Their propulsion system relies on principles we theorized but couldn't test without zero-gravity manufacturing. How long to replicate it? Asked her supervisor. With what we've learned already. Weeks, not years. As the 5th day of diplomatic talks began, military advisor Chunho presented his formal assessment to Fleet Commander Darrow. Earth's defenses are minimal. Their most advanced weapons are nuclear missiles with limited guidance systems. Their aircraft cannot operate in space. Their naval vessels are restricted to water. I recommend proceeding with standard integration protocols. Darrow approved the assessment and forwarded it to the Confederation Council. Prepare for Phase 2. We'll begin establishing resource collection outposts within the next lunar cycle. That same day, in the secure underground facility, Earth's defense leaders enacted their own plans. The Confederation believes we're primitive because we don't have their technology, said General Julian. They've completely misjudged our capabilities because they're looking for weapons like theirs. Defense Secretary Kim nodded. Activate Operation Shadow Response. All units maintain apparent normal operations, while special forces move to designated positions. As the sun set on the 5th day, both sides believed they fully understood the other. The Confederation saw a technologically inferior civilization that would soon be peacefully absorbed into their alliance. Earth's leaders sought arrogant aliens who had fundamentally misunderstood human ingenuity and determination. Neither side realized how quickly their carefully constructed assessments would be tested. Survey team leader Minho checked his equipment one final time before signaling his team to proceed. The mountain range ahead showed promising mineral deposits, exactly the kind the Confederation valued most. This survey mission was standard procedure: identify resources, map terrain, and prepare reports for the eventual integration of Earth into the Confederation's economy. Area appears uninhabited, reported Technician Sunwoo, consulting his scanner. No energy signatures, no communication signals. Optimal conditions for detailed survey. Minho nodded with satisfaction. The humans have been surprisingly accommodating, allowing Confederation teams to explore various regions with minimal oversight. This particular area, a remote mountain range in a region humans called Colorado, hadn't even required special permission. According to their outdated maps, it was simply wilderness. Deploy the sensor drones, Minho ordered. Standard grid pattern, 5-kilometer spread. The team's 6 metallic drones rose silently into the air, their scanning beams invisible to the human eye. They would create a detailed 3-dimensional map of everything from surface features to deep mineral deposits. I still don't understand why this species hasn't properly exploited their planet's resources, remarked geologist Yuna, examining initial readings. These mountains contain rare earth elements in concentrations that would be considered extremely valuable. Their technology isn't advanced enough to detect them properly, Minho explained. Remember, they still rely on crude drilling methods and chemical processes. They can't even access their deep oceanic resources yet. The team advanced further into the valley, their equipment humming softly as it analyzed soil samples and atmospheric conditions. The Earth day was pleasant, with blue skies and a gentle breeze, quite comfortable compared to many worlds they had surveyed. Suddenly, Technician Sunwoo froze. "Sir, my scanner just detected something odd." A brief energy spike, then nothing. Minho frowned. Location: everywhere. It surrounded us for a moment, then vanished. Before Minho could respond, his communication device crackled with static. All 6 sensor drones simultaneously lost altitude and settled gently to the ground, their lights dark. "System malfunction?" he asked, checking his own equipment, but his scanner had also gone dead. In fact, every piece of Confederation technology they carried had stopped working simultaneously. "This is impossible," whispered Yuna. "Our systems have redundant power sources. They can't all fail at once." That's when they heard it. A slight rustling sound from all directions. Minho looked up to see humans emerging from positions where there had appeared to be nothing but rocks and vegetation. They wore camouflage uniforms that had somehow masked their heat signatures and carried weapons unlike the primitive firearms the Confederation had observed in human military demonstrations. A human female stepped forward, insignia on her uniform indicating leadership. "I am Captain Suman of Earth's Special Defense Forces. Your team has entered a restricted area. Please remain where you are." Minho stared in disbelief. Their intelligence had shown no military installations in this region, no restricted zones. More concerning, these humans had somehow detected and disabled all their technology without firing a single shot. "There must be some mistake," he said, using the translation device built into his suit collar, one of the few systems still partially functioning. "We were given permission to conduct surveys in this region." Captain Suman's expression remained neutral. "No such permission was granted for this specific location. Your team crossed the marked boundary 20 minutes ago." Marked boundary. Minho looked around in confusion. "We saw no markers, no indications of restricted access." Another human stepped forward, this one carrying what appeared to be a simple tablet device. "The boundary was clearly indicated on the maps provided to your diplomatic team," he said, displaying a document with signatures, including Ambassador Jiu's. Minho felt a chill. Either their intelligence had failed catastrophically, or they had been deliberately missiled. And more troubling, How had these humans neutralized Confederation technology so easily? Captain Suman gestured to her team, who began collecting the disabled drones with surprising care. Your equipment will be returned to your embassy within 24 hours after standard security protocols are completed. You and your team will be escorted back to the approved survey zone. Our equipment is sensitive and contains proprietary technology, Minho protested. Yes, we know, replied Suman with a slight smile that suggested far more knowledge than should have been possible. As they were being escorted back, Minho observed the human soldiers closely. They moved with practiced efficiency, communicated through small gestures, and displayed none of the technological awkwardness the Confederation had come to expect from humans. More concerning, they handled the disabled Confederation equipment with familiar ease, as if they understood exactly how it functioned. Meanwhile, in a secure facility 50 kilometers away, Earth scientists were already receiving the first of the captured drones. Begin analysis immediately, ordered Chief Engineer Minji as the equipment was carefully placed in a shielded laboratory. Priority focus on their sensor array and communication systems. The disruption field worked perfectly, noted her assistant. Complete technology shutdown without damaging the components. They never saw it coming. Minji nodded with satisfaction. They expect energy weapons and shields. They don't understand that we took a different path. Back at the Confederation base, Fleet Commander Darrow received the news of the incident with growing alarm. How could humans detect our survey team? The stealth systems should have been completely beyond their technological understanding, he demanded. Ambassador Jiu looked equally concerned. More troubling is how they disabled our equipment. The reports indicate no visible weapons were used, yet everything from communication devices to environmental suits simply shut down. Military advisor Shuno, who had been so dismissive of human capabilities, now appeared deeply troubled. Commander, I believe we may have significantly underestimated these humans. Their apparent technological limitations may be deliberate. Intelligence Officer Hyun, who had been analyzing the incident report, looked up with a grave expression. Sir, the humans are returning our equipment as promised, but preliminary scans indicate they've examined it thoroughly. They've learned more about our technology in a day than they should have been able to in years. Darrow stared at the holographic display, showing Earth rotating peacefully below their ship. The blue planet suddenly seemed much more mysterious and potentially dangerous than anyone in the Confederation had imagined. I want a complete reassessment of human military capability, he ordered. Something tells me we've been looking at the wrong metrics all along. Fleet Commander Darrow stared at the holographic display with growing concern. The incident with Survey Team Leader Minho had shaken the entire Confederation mission. What should have been a simple scientific expedition into an unpopulated mountain region had turned into a diplomatic nightmare. The humans had somehow detected, tracked, and completely neutralized a team equipped with the Confederation's best stealth technology. Play it again, Darrow ordered, his voice tight. The recording showed Minho's team approaching what appeared to be an empty mountainside. Suddenly, human soldiers emerged from hidden positions. There was no warning, no opportunity to retreat. More disturbing was how the humans had disabled all Confederation technology without firing a single energy weapon. Our systems just shut down, Minho had reported after being released. They used some kind of localized field that affected only our equipment. Their own devices continued working perfectly. Ambassador Jiu entered the command center, her expression grave. The humans have requested a special meeting. They say they want to clarify misunderstandings. Intelligence Officer Hyun, who had been unusually quiet since the incident, finally spoke up. Commander, I believe we have been operating under a severe misapprehension about human capabilities. Darrow turned to him. Explain. Hyun activated his data tablet and projected a new set of images. We've been scanning for technological signatures that match our own developmental path. Energy weapons, shield generators, antimatter containment. But the humans took a completely different approach. He displayed footage that the Confederation had not seen before, military exercises conducted in remote locations, These aren't primitive soldiers, Hyun continued. They've mastered electronic warfare, signal intelligence, and most concerning, adaptive countermeasures. They don't need energy shields when they can simply prevent our weapons from functioning. The command center fell silent. The implications were enormous. Why would they hide their capabilities? Jiu finally asked. Because they recognize our intentions from the beginning, Hyun replied. Our diplomatic language contains patterns that they've identified as deceptive. They've been feeding us exactly what we expected to see while gathering information about our true technological vulnerabilities. 2 hours later, Darrow, Jiu, and a small team entered the meeting room where Earth's representatives waited. The atmosphere had changed dramatically from previous encounters. The humans no longer displayed the deferential attitude that had seemed so natural before. Secretary General Hanna spoke first. We believe it's time for more honest communication between our worlds. Defense Minister Jun activated a display showing detailed schematics of Confederation vessels, including systems that should have been impossible for humans to detect. We know your ships rely on crystalline energy matrices for propulsion. We know your weapons require 3 seconds to charge before firing. We know your shields operate on rotating frequencies to prevent penetration. The Confederation team tried to hide their shock. This level of analysis should have been beyond human capability. How? Darrow asked simply. Admiral Seojin smiled slightly. You assume that because we don't have your specific technologies, we must be inferior. But Earth has faced a different evolutionary path than your worlds. We've had to fight ourselves for millennia, developing ways to detect, counter, and overcome enemies who understood our thinking. General Juhyun continued, when you have 27 species who all developed similar technologies, you create blind spots. You expected us to follow your developmental pattern. We didn't. The humans activated another display showing what appeared to be some kind of test facility. A captured piece of Confederation technology sat in the center of a chamber. As they watched, human scientists applied various signals to the device, methodically mapping its responses. Within 24 hours of your arrival, we had reverse-engineered the basic principles of your communication systems, explained Chief Engineer Minji. Within 72 hours, we understood your sensor technology. You broadcast everything in ways we can detect because you never expected we could listen. Ambassador Jiu looked stricken. You've been deceiving us deliberately. Just as you deceived us, replied Secretary General Hanna, her voice firm but not unkind. Your integration protocols include resource appropriation that would effectively reduce Earth to a mining colony. Did you think we wouldn't notice the surveying drones cataloging our mineral deposits, or the genetic sampling of our population? Fleet Commander Darrow struggled to process this reversal. Everything they had believed about Earth was wrong. The primitive, defenseless civilization they planned to smoothly incorporate into the Confederation was actually a planet of highly adaptive, suspicious beings who had seen through their diplomatic facade immediately. What happens now? He finally asked. The humans exchanged glances. Then Defense Secretary Kim slid a data crystal across the table. This contains footage of a military exercise we conducted yesterday. We'd like you to watch it. The display activated, showing human forces engaging in what appeared to be a simulation. What shocked the Confederation team wasn't the weapons, which were indeed less advanced than their own, but the tactics. The humans moved in completely unpredictable patterns, used terrain in ways Confederation military doctrine never considered, and most disturbing, demonstrated countermeasures specifically designed to neutralize Confederation technology. We don't want conflict, said Admiral Seojin, but we've prepared for it since your ships first appeared in our system. Every piece of technology you've shown us, every casual demonstration of your capabilities, has been analyzed and countered. Intelligence Officer Hyun, who had been silent until now, addressed his commander. They're telling the truth. Our assessment protocols failed because we measured them against our standards. Their strength isn't in matching our technology. It's in finding ways to make it irrelevant. The meeting ended with a new understanding between the species, As the Confederation team returned to their ship, Darrow faced the most difficult report he'd ever have to make to the Council. Earth wasn't the easy acquisition they'd anticipated. It was something far more valuable and dangerous. A world of beings who thought differently than any species the Confederation had encountered before. And they had been watching the Confederation's every move from the moment the first ship entered Earth's orbit. The Grand Meeting Hall had been specially constructed for this historic occasion. On one side sat the Confederation delegation, led by Fleet Commander Darrow and Ambassador Jiu. On the other side were Earth's representatives, with Secretary General Hanna at the center. The atmosphere was entirely different from their first encounter 2 months earlier. "The treaty before us represents a new chapter for both our peoples," began Hanna, her voice clear and confident. "Not the integration you initially planned, but a true alliance between equals." Fleet Commander Darrow nodded respectfully. The last 8 weeks had completely transformed his understanding of humans and their capabilities. After the incident with Survey Team Leader Minho, everything had changed. The Confederation had been forced to recognize that their assessment of Earth had been fundamentally flawed. The Celestial Confederation acknowledges Earth as a sovereign and independent world, Darrow stated formally. "We recognize that your unique developmental path has produced capabilities we failed to properly understand or appreciate." What had begun as a simple incident had escalated into a full diplomatic crisis when the Confederation discovered just how much the humans had learned from their brief exposure to alien technology. Earth scientists had reverse-engineered principles that should have taken decades to comprehend. Ambassador Jiu spoke next. "Your species fascinates us, truly. You focused your innovation in directions we never considered. While we perfected energy weapons, you mastered electronic warfare. While we developed faster-than-light travel, you perfected adaptation and improvisation." Defense Minister Jun smiled slightly. "Necessity shapes innovation. When you can't match an opponent's strengths, you find their weaknesses instead." The assembled delegates reviewed the treaty terms displayed on the central holographic projector. Instead of Earth being absorbed into the Confederation as a resource provider, the treaty established Earth as an independent ally with unique status. Trade agreements would be balanced, technology exchange would be mutual, and military cooperation would recognize the different but complementary strengths of both sides. "I admit I was skeptical when your intelligence officer Hyun first suggested this approach," said Admiral Seojin to Darrow in a private moment. "It's unprecedented in Confederation history to treat a technologically different world as an equal." Darrow nodded. "Han saw what the rest of us missed. Your defensive capabilities may not match our offensive ones in traditional metrics, but they render many of our advantages irrelevant. That's a valuable perspective the Confederation has lacked." Indeed, Intelligence Officer Hyun had been promoted after correctly assessing the true nature of Earth's military strategy. While the Confederation had been looking for big energy weapons and shield generators, humans had developed remarkably effective countermeasures, stealth technology, and electronic warfare capabilities that could neutralize even advanced Confederation systems. As the formal proceedings continued, Chief Engineer Minji demonstrated a new joint project, a hybrid defense system combining Confederation energy technology with Earth's unique approach to electronic countermeasures. The resulting prototype showed remarkable effectiveness against weapons that could penetrate traditional shields. "This is just the beginning," Minji explained. "By combining our different approaches, we create defenses that neither of our civilizations could develop alone." In a symbolic gesture, both sides exchanged small gifts. The Confederation presented Earth with a data crystal containing medical technology that would extend human lifespans. Earth presented the Confederation with a seemingly simple device that could detect and counter a specific type of stealth technology used by a rival alien power, one the Confederation had never been able to overcome. "How did you develop this without even knowing about the Nexus Empire?" asked Science Officer Taman, examining the device with amazement. "We didn't," explained General Julian. "We developed it to detect submarines underwater using principles that, as it happens, work equally well against their cloaking technology. Different problems sometimes have the same solution. Later that evening, as celebrations continued in the meeting hall, Fleet Commander Darrow stood with Secretary General Hannah on a balcony overlooking the city lights. When we first arrived, we thought we were bringing advanced civilization to a primitive world, Darrow admitted. I never imagined we would instead find a new way of thinking that challenges our most basic assumptions. Hannah nodded. Throughout human history, we've learned that true strength isn't always obvious. The small can defeat the large. The seemingly weak can overcome the apparently strong. Not through matching power, but through finding a different approach. Your people concealed their capabilities deliberately, Darrow observed. You let us believe you were defenseless. Not defenseless, Hannah corrected. Just differently defended. You were looking for shield generators and energy cannons. We developed signal jammers and adaptive countermeasures instead. You expected us to try to match your technology. We focused on making it irrelevant. The next morning, as the Confederation fleet prepared to depart with the newly signed treaty, military advisor Chino, who had once been so dismissive of human capabilities, approached Admiral Seogen with unusual humility. I would like to request permission to remain on Earth with a small team, he said. There is much we could learn from your military thinking, particularly your approach to asymmetric warfare. Seogen smiled. We would welcome the exchange, and perhaps some of our officers could study aboard your vessels. Your traditional military doctrine is still impressive, even if we found ways around it. As the Confederation flagship rose into orbit, Fleet Commander Darrow composed his final report to the Council. He wrote, Earth represents not just a new ally, but a fundamentally new perspective for the Confederation. Their defenseless reputation was our most dangerous misunderstanding. They remind us that true capability cannot be measured by technology alone, but by creativity, adaptability, and determination, qualities humans possess in remarkable abundance. The blue planet grew smaller in the viewport as the ship prepared for faster-than-light travel. Earth would remain independent, not the easy conquest the Confederation had anticipated. Instead of gaining a colony, they had found something far more valuable, a partner with a completely different approach to survival in a dangerous galaxy. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, other powers would soon learn the same lesson the Confederation had. Appearances can be deceiving, especially when it comes to a planet called Earth.